Welcome to the Irish NFL show. We have with us one of the elite practitioners of a noble, crucial, and often overlooked art of the game, Chicago Bears long snapper Scott Daly. It's great to have you with us. I, for one, am a big fan of the long snaps, and I'm not just saying it because you're with us, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a long snap, and it says a lot about guys in your position that you very rarely see one go wrong, or at least it's very rarely the long snapper's fault.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, it's one of those positions that, when everything's going smooth, everything's going well, no one knows who you are. So if you can go unnoticed throughout a year or a season or throughout your entire career, that's a definitely a pat in the back for you. But yeah, whenever things go wrong, it's definitely catastrophic, and everyone knows who you are. It's definitely a game-changing play, and just try to stay as under the radar as possible. But excited to be with you guys again. I know it's been a couple years, but excited to be back and talk some ball.
No, thanks so much for being with us, and it's great to have you, especially at this time of year as well, because a lot of our audience will know, and for those who don't, you're obviously very proud of your Irish heritage. You wear the tricolour on your helmet. So let me ask you, first of all, how was your St. Patrick's Day?
It was great. So actually, I flew out to Chicago to sign on that Monday. So it was a different St. Patty's Day, but I mean, to be back in Chicago, I'm just super grateful and excited. Obviously to see Chicago is a very special and unique place that celebrates St. Patty's Day. We got the dyeing of the Chicago River every Friday of that year during that weekend, and Chicago really leans into St. Patty's Day. So it's definitely a special place to be during that time of year and during that holiday. So I'm super excited to be back in Chicago. So my day was, really flew about 4 hours on the flight, went to the building, took care of the signing, physicals, everything like that. Took about a half an hour, and then hopped back on the plane and flew back to San Diego. So it was a lot of on the plane to and from, but a small price to pay to be back with Chicago. Just super fired up and excited to be back. And yeah, I just can't wait for the future.
For anyone who's wondering why you hopped on that plane and went back so quickly, I'm guessing it has something to do with what we just spoke about before we started recording, which is obviously that you and your wife are very lucky to have a new blessing in your lives. You're a new dad. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he's our son, Noah Luke. Had him 2 days before our last game against Green Bay last year, and it was quite the week to have that amazing moment, to be able to welcome our son into the world, and to leave for a quick day and a half, go beat the Packers, and then be able to come back and be able to spend the entire offseason with him has been such a blessing. He's 11 weeks today, and yeah, like we were talking about, before we started, just recording. It's been an amazing experience. I mean, obviously, you hear parents talk about just how it's just absolutely life-changing, and your world's never the same, and it's hard to truly grasp and understand that until you actually have your first child. And ever since he's entered the world, it's just been absolute joy, just to know that you're responsible for this life from just this moment on, and to be able to have that, just all the ebbs and flows and everything in between. It's just such a tremendous blessing, and we just thank God that he's here, and we've been loving every second of it.
So it's lovely to hear you say that, Scott. And if that little baby boy can bring more victories at Lambeau into the world as a Bears fan, I'm all for it. Thank you, Noah Luke, for that one. An additional blessing in that little small packet. How has your off season been? Apart from that, that's obviously quite a big thing to happen. But can you switch off, and how do you manage to do so if you do?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, the timing, like I said, with having Noah right before the season ended, had timed up perfectly to where I could really be fully present during these first weeks and months of having Noah, trying to help out as much as I can. So it's been a different off season than in years past. Luckily, grateful that I was able to be healthy. The previous year, I had a knee injury a couple years ago, so the off season wasn't quite like a normal offseason. It was consistent with a lot of rehabbing and just trying to get back to full strength by OTAs. So this year, I'm grateful that I was healthy. I was able to enjoy some time off, rest physically, mentally, and spiritually, and just be able to be a full-time dad, be a full-time husband, and just enjoying that new aspect of life.
Was good to see you healthy. I was lucky enough to see you in the flesh when myself and Noel went over for the Irish NFL show to see the Bears game against Jacksonville. A good win as well for Chicago on the day. It was an interesting one, and I'm kind of laughing is because you said at the outset that ideally as a long snapper you don't want to be noticed. Obviously, you had you had somebody fill in for your job. Cole Kmet was gunning for your job momentarily when you had to go off injured. What did you say to him in the locker room after the game?
Yeah, it was one of the situations, like you said, where you don't expect it to happen, but when it does happen, it just get pretty chaotic, and the word spread around quickly. As it was kind of a primetime game, like you said, it was the first game on that day, so a lot of eyes were on that game, and yeah, I think it was one of those things. Just tried to help out Cole. I think he was just struggling, publicly, and just people didn't know who he was, overseas. So I think they really set him on that next level. But no, in all seriousness, I think Cole did a tremendous job. It was one of those where I went down with a knee injury that game. Thanks be to God, it wasn't anything serious. I was able to come back the following week. But it's one of situations where you have a couple guys on the roster that can kind of snap, can be able to get by, but you never hope that it ever happens in that situation. And unfortunately, it did happen to where Cole had to come in, and he did seamlessly. I mean, he did a great job with that operation, with those field goals of helping out Cairo and Torrey. And luckily, we didn't have to punt it all at that point, so he didn't have to go through that experience. But yeah, Cole did a tremendous job. He stepped in right away and was able to have a seamless transition and was able to walk out with the victory.
You made that trip to London. It must be exciting as someone who's, again, as we say, so proudly celebrates his Irish heritage. Now Dublin is on the roster here. Potential, of course, we'll see how this September's game goes, but that Ireland could be a regular feature on the international game series. You could yet make the trip back as a player.
Yeah, that would be very exciting. I was obviously fired up to hear that Ireland was going to be hosting a game this year. I'm sure you guys are excited as well to be able to have the NFL in your guys' backyard. And I think it's great for the game. I think it's awesome for the players as well to experience a new place, new area, new atmosphere, and just to see the passion. That was one thing that I noticed in London, is that technically it was a home game for us, but when you go to these international games, you hear stories of it's kind of like the Super Bowl in the sense to where it's kind of a neutral setting. They're here for the game. They love the sport, but they're not really rooting for one team or the other. But in my experience in London, I mean, it felt like a true home game, which was a very, very cool thing for us, kind of going into it, not expecting that. And then to have a lot of orange and blue there, a lot of fans, almost the whole stadium in Tottenham cheering for the Bears. So that was pretty surreal to be able to have that. And I'm sure it's going to be just a tremendous experience in Dublin as well.
Yeah, I can imagine the Steelers will bring out one or two fans, as your alma mater, of course, Notre Dame did when they played here in the college game. That was huge excitement around town. I don't know, did you get to experience that yourself, or was that one you watched on TV?
Yeah, so we didn't get to travel here, but actually my first ever college game was in 2012, where we came over and played against Navy, and it was just an incredible experience. So like my father is Irish, my grandfather's from Galway, so they were able to come over and experience that game. It was in Aviva, and just an amazing experience. I almost wish that it was almost too much, because it was my first college game coming over, being half Irish, and to be able to experience that back here was just truly surreal. It was almost too much. It was just too much with my first college game, having that. And I kind of wish it was maybe further down the road where I was able to, get used to that routine and experience. But it was a truly surreal way to kick off my college career, to have that experience, be able to come over here, experience Ireland, and also to come away with the victory against Navy.
That is a lot. I didn't realize that had been your first game. Wow, you didn't, as if you didn't have enough to concentrate on.
Exactly. Yeah, it was almost too much, but just an amazing experience. I was obviously walked away with the win, and was able to see my father, my grandfather, and then also relatives as well who were able to make the trip. And yeah, it was an amazing experience, amazing way to kick off my college career. And I think it's a really cool thing that Notre Dame tries to shoot for I think their goal is to do it every 4 years. So at least every graduating class can have that experience of coming overseas and playing there. Ireland did an amazing job hosting us. It was an amazing experience, and I hope that they do it every 4 years.
Yeah, it's certainly something that people here very much embraced, as you saw, and will very much look forward to happening again. That the Notre Dame crowd definitely brings something special, and the historic connection makes it all the more special. But back to the pros, Scott, you're newly re-signed. You're looking ahead to a great season in Chicago. Bears have been very active in free agency, of course. You got some strong horses coming in to help on the O-line, a couple of reinforcements on the D-line as well. The Bears very much building through the trenches now.
Yeah, no, it's been a very exciting time. And from being there on Monday, you could definitely feel the excitement. It's very palpable in that building, with obviously Ben coming over from Detroit. I've had an experience with him for a couple of years when I was with the Lions for 3 years, and was definitely fired up to hear that he was going to be the head coach this upcoming season. And I think he was the right man for the job. I think as someone that can really take not only the offense, but the entire football team to that next level. And, obviously, like you said, I think they're really working on patching up a couple holes that they feel like that they needed to address both on the line. And I think that it's really going to give Caleb a more fair assessment, I think, moving forward, as there was some trouble with the offensive line, but I thought Caleb handled it extremely well. With it being his first year and his rookie, you're just really trying to stay afloat and survive, let alone be in the face of the franchise of Chicago, which is, in my opinion, the biggest market in the entire NFL in Chicago. So I thought he did a tremendous job, and I really look forward to him taking that next step with a huge part of it to do with Ben and really helping him out and helping him take that next step.
It's interesting to hear you say that because, when you take a look at Caleb's season in the cold light of day and you come with such a burden of expectation when people are throwing around a tag like generational talent and everybody expects instant success. But it's almost at a level now where you wonder, well, what is actually a good season for a rookie quarterback? He throws for over 3,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, takes great care of the football, behind it, as you say, at times an offensive line where he takes 68 sacks. That, in most people's book, is a great rookie season.
Yeah, for sure. I think at the surface level, it was, not a great season just from the wins and losses and things like that. But my biggest thing was, so I signed with Chicago right before the first week of the season. So it wasn't with them during training camp, didn't see them during OTAs. And it's about my second day of practice where we finished up with the special teams and we were watching the team period. And I turned to our punter, Torrey Taylor, and I go, "Hey, how's Caleb doing? I haven't really had a chance to watch him or see him." And as I said it, Caleb is in team period, rolling out to his right, throws an absolute rope across the field, hits DJ Moore in stride for about 45 yards. And I turn to Tor and I go, "Okay, yeah, he's gonna be a good player." So yeah, and that was the whole testament to the entire season. Like you said, like the stats may be misleading at that point, but I thought he had a very solid season, especially as a rookie. You're just trying to stay afloat. You're trying to survive. You're trying to learn. You're just drinking through a fire hose at that point. And I thought that he handled himself extremely well with the media, the mental aspect. Nothing really riled him too much, and I think it's only going to progress and only get better from there.
What do you see from him at pitch level? Because I thought it was interesting being in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the London game, and you see so much more, obviously, when you're actually there. We don't get the opportunity to do it that much on this side of the Atlantic. But one of the things I noticed immediately, and it's eye-popping, is just the velocity on the ball. Like that arm is it's such a gift.
He can zip it. He really does. But not only that, I think his legs make it exciting to really extend the plays outside the pocket. And he would make about 2 or 3 plays a game where you would just take a step back and say, did I really just see that? Both with his arms and his legs. And as a rookie, to be able to have that comfort and that grasp on the field, I think is such an amazing talent and gift. And again, yeah, it obviously didn't translate to wins that we just like would have liked last year. But I think that he's really going to take that next step. I think, like we talked about earlier with the offensive line shoring up, that for him, I think is only going to help him with his confidence moving forward. And not to mention that pairing that with Ben's just brilliance in terms of offense and really expanding things and just using Caleb's strengths to his abilities. That's one thing that I think Ben does an amazing job with from seeing him in Detroit, is that he's not a one size fits all in terms of the offense. He's going to tailor it to whatever the strengths of that offense is. And what we have in Chicago is going to be a lot different from what Ben had in Detroit. It's not going to be the same offense, which Ben said himself during his opening presser. So I think it's going to be very exciting to see him really take that next step and, make those, exciting plays like he talked about, but really move the offense forward and make it one of the top offenses in the entire league.
Ben, as you say, you've worked with him before in your time in Detroit. What can people expect to see from him? What did you learn from seeing him in that building?
Someone that is incredibly intelligent. I think someone that's really self-aware of himself. I thought it was an amazing testament, the fact that he had opportunities the last 2 seasons to take head coaching jobs and to really be self-aware about himself and where he was at as a coach, to be able to say, no, I'm good. I think I'm going to wait and hold off. Because partially that they were having success in Detroit, but also the fact that I think he realized that he wasn't quite ready to take that step. And I think someone who's incredibly intelligent with the X and O's in football, but also very self-aware with himself, I think is an amazing quality to have as a head coach. And someone who is incredibly intense, who's going to really ask the most out of each and every player, regardless of who you are on the roster, and just really push you. Like I saw that intensity and that passion each and every day with the offense. And it really rubbed off on everyone else, knowing that he's going to be expecting that high standard each and every week from that offense. And I think it's something that we really needed this past year. And for him to come over and be able to have that, not to mention he's brought over an incredible coaching staff that's really going to help him. And I think really seeing what Dan did in Detroit, he learned a lot from him, and I think he's going to really bring those amazing qualities with him as well, and also throw in his own style. It's going to be exciting to see.
One of the things we would have noted from Detroit is that in partnership with Dan Campbell, obviously very aggressive, very confident in their offense, and love to sprinkle in trick plays as well. Would you like to get in on that action?
I would love nothing more. Yeah, that was a definitely fun aspect that we had in Detroit, that the fact that we were able to, have those trick plays, have those fake plays on special teams, really just keep the team on their heels. I think that's an amazing quality to have. And I think Ben's going to have that aggressive mindset as well, and to be able to have that full arsenal to his disposal, and to really go into it knowing that, hey, we can really push it and be in 4-down territory. And that really just mentally, I think, just gives you more options and more plethora of plays to be able to use. So I think Ben's going to be a great fit. I think his mindset and his aggressiveness is really going to help as well. I think it's going to rub off as well on the defensive special teams, and really just help change the culture in that sense of being the team that's going to put your foot on the gas the entire 4 quarters and really just push it all the way to the end. And it's going to be exciting to see.
And you're going to have to do that because the NFC North is so competitive, Scott. Sent 3 teams to the playoffs, of course, last year. So nothing less than the best is going to make progress in that division.
Yeah, I think it speaks to how confident Ben is. The fact that, he had really his, choice of teams that he really wanted to go to. But I think it speaks volumes to how he feels about Caleb and, going to a team that, you're very familiar with and in the NFC North. But also I think it talks about how I think it's going to be an advantage as well, because, obviously Ben is very familiar with playing against teams like Green Bay and Minnesota, and also knows Detroit as well from being there for 3 years. So I think it's going to be an advantage. And like you said, it's only going to make the division even more stronger. It's been exciting to see it grow over the 3 years that I've been involved with it, with being in Detroit for 3 years and now Chicago. But it's definitely, in my opinion, I think it's the most intense and toughest division in the NFL for sure.
Still in some ways quite a long way to go until September, although it always ticks around quickly enough. What are you looking forward to most at this stage?
I'm so excited to get back in the building. There's a lot of, new faces, a lot of familiar faces, to be able to go back with the guys and really just get that chemistry back, especially with special teams, just get that rhythm, that timing, and to be back in the building to really be able to get to know the new coaches on staff. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just be able to get back that familiarity and just really just see where the team's at and get a pulse of where we stand going into OTAs and then going into training camp and then so on and so forth to the season. But yeah, I mean, obviously being a hometown kid of the Bears, it was truly surreal being there last year. And I think being able to experience OTAs in training camp, which I wasn't able to experience last year because I was with them in over in, just like Detroit. And so I think having that new experience is going to be a lot of fun and really exciting to be able to experience that and just get things rolling again.
Well, Scott, we wish you the very best with it. It sounds very exciting. You sound very excited about it. In the meantime, we will let you get back to enjoying that precious time with your little baby boy. These are special moments indeed. We congratulate you again, and thank you so much for joining us on the Irish NFL Show.
Thank you. Always good to be here. Appreciate it.